Hello, hello. Welcome to today's live stream. So today, yeah, we're gonna finish the Blacker Fly that we started last week. Blacker's number 6 for the River Band. Sorry, got my microphone in the way. Focus. Um, yeah, as usual, if you are new to the stream, just joining us, and want to see more of my work, go check out my Instagram. It's at justwondering.brad on Instagram. If you want to purchase one of my flies, you can go over to my Etsy shop. It's Studio1213 on Etsy. And let's get started. So we are going to finish this fly here. Just adjust the camera. It's looking a little bit shaggy. A little, was none too gentle with it. Kind of got mixed up with some other things. Uh, but let me just grab. I'm gonna grab some black thread. Be right back. So we are tying a mixed wing fly today. Now, to save a little bit of time, I have already um, uh, essentially put together the wings. I know I've done this in other streams where I've kind of pre-constructed the wings. Fortunately, mixed wing flies. Um, well, we should probably talk about them because mixed wing flies are a category in and of themselves. Um, and there are many, many different ways to, you know, create a mixed wing. Um, I was trying to think of all the different ways, and I'm pretty sure that even with my experience and watching other people, and just to be upfront, I don't tie mixed wings all that often, nor all that well. Come on, why won't you string? Um, yeah, so I don't tie mixed wings all that well or all that often. They are, I guess, they're not that. I would say they're not that popular, but they are. Then they can look really fantastic. But like I said, there are many ways to create mixed wings. I only practice a few, um, and I think I've said this before, but like I'm no salmon fly historian. I don't go back and say, well, this style of fly should be tied with this style of mixed wing. Um, I don't subscribe like I'm not that level of expertise. I'm mostly interested in the technique and what that technique results in visually and from a fly design standpoint. I'm not a historian. I couldn't tell you, what years a certain style was popular. Um, I have read some of the texts about like how historical fly tires would create their wings, but mostly for technical um, details. Uh, so like, um, but every author, Blacker, Toll Free. um, Jones, Jones Guide to Norway. They all have slightly different interpretations of how to create mixed wings. Um, and uh, that being said, like when I tie mixed wings, I don't tie them because they're historically accurate. So, like for example, for this fly, um, I'm using a method of tying a mixed wing, which is, even though this is a blacker fly and a mixed wing would be appropriate for it, um, this likely would not be, or this is not how Blacker describes creating a mixed wing in his treatise. So we're doing things a little bit um, different from the way that they're described in his book, even though this is a blacker fly. As usual, switch to black thread for the head. Move something's on the way. Now, one thing that I am going to do, just kind of per his instructions, is I'm going to tie the wings in essentially one at a time and in bundles. So what I've done is I've taken all the strips of the of the winging material from the recipe, and I've basically bundled them together. And I've taken the step of tying them here at approximately the tie-in point. This is out of convenience. In Blacker, the way he describes it is you're just supposed to bundle them together and hold them together with between your fingernails. This is convenient because it allowed me to create these prior to the stream so that they're ready to go. Again, this is not what's described in Blacker, but it's convenient. And so I have a near wing and a far wing, approximately equal. I did omit a few materials because if you remember from last time, this wing has an absolutely massive materials list. And I'll read it off for you just to remind us. Let's see. Kingfisher, each side of the wings, which are of a very nice mixture of Argus, pheasant, small spotted feather, peacock wings, mallard, teal, guinea hen, kite tail, pheasant tail, blue and orange macaw, scarlet macaw, green parrot tails, ibis, silver pheasant tail, the hen, feelers of macaw, a topping overall with the crest feather of the Himalayan pheasant, and a bronze head. I think we counted that as like 13 things in the wing, not including the feelers or the horns, and topping and sides, which is a lot of materials. Now I've done some substitutions. Just so orange. So for example, orange macaw, I used orange turkey. Green parrot, I just used green turkey. For convenience, and also I have some green parrot, but it's not very large. Certainly not even large enough for this. This is a size 2 hook, and if and the parrot that I have can't even tie a size 2 hook, so that's not great. And the other thing is, I'm saving the pair of green parrot that I have for a full feather wing down the road. So I didn't want to break that out, but it looks fine. Just subbed green turkey. Let's see, kite tail, substituted kind of a rusty red turkey, like a bourbon red turkey, because kite is a raptor, and in the United States, unless you have a special permit, it's illegal to own raptor feathers. What other subs? I subbed turkey for the hen silver pheasant because I don't have any hen silver pheasant. I have male silver pheasant, but I don't have any hen. And it's a fairly similar. Um, when you just pull out a single slip, it looks very similar to like palm turkey. Um, So yeah, so these subs are pretty close. Um, and you have to think in Blacker's time, they would have made these substitutions as well based on what they had available um, to the tire. Um, and if you look at the recipe, even we talked about this last week with the body. The body says a puce body. Well, is that a puce floss or a puce fur? Um, and obviously, it would be whatever they had on hand. Um, so we had on hand puce seal's fur. That's what we used. So now all I did is I just tied them on. In Blacker, he described tying them on one side at a time. So you just tie on, the near one, the far one, having them, bundled together, all the strips bundled together, just makes it really easy to tie them in. Um, we're just gonna we're gonna leave the butt ends long. We just want to make sure that they are well secured. And then we are going to add. So I'm going to tie in the teal and the mallard separately, just because in a little bit more of a nod to like a modern style. I'm not going to mix them in with the wing. I'm going to leave them as separate components, um, and I'm going to tie them in more as like sides and sheaths, a side and like a bronze mallard roof, sort of. Um, we're just going to use very slim slips of the teal and the mallard. Um, these are all very sparse patterns. We tend to over tie. I think we mentioned this last week as well. When we tie modern interpretations of these flies, we oftentimes tie them too heavily. They're actually very quite sparse. Um, and the nice thing about mixed wings is, um, if your tying's a little bit sloppy, that's okay because mixed wings are supposed to be mixed. They're supposed to be a little bit messy. Certainly, they're balanced. They should be composed well, but if you get a slip in the wing turned around, or um, one of your slips doesn't quite match, a slip from the other side, that's okay. It's it's a little bit easier to um, hide your crimes, as they would say in the like movie or theater prop world. So recently, I received some questions about why why I don't often take private commissions, and that's a really good question. I know quite a few fly tires take commissions, and I do occasionally take commissions for flies, but I don't often do it. I very rarely take commissions. And the primary reason is just time. Um, Fly tying is a hobby. I don't have the time to tie, to do a dozen flies. Uh, and in being a hobby, I don't often have time to, or I don't often have the materials on hand to tie a large order, whatever it might be. Um, so for example, I've been asked to tie, you know, a dozen fishing flies, uh, and even a dozen fishing flies would, one, stretch the materials that I have on hand, but two, because of the places where I shop for materials, it would be cost prohibitive to purchase, a bulk amount of. Uh, it'd be cost prohibitive for the buyer to pay essentially for those materials, um, in a large enough amount to make it worth tying a dozen flies. Um, I do take commissions though for display flies. Um, that is something that I am I do. Again, very rarely though, and again, it just comes down to time. Um, I say this all the time. This is a hobby for me. It's an enjoyable hobby. I like to do it on a regular basis, but um, when you consider I work 5 days a week and like to have my days off, um, especially to do family stuff or errands, I don't often take on additional projects. But if it's a compelling commission or something interesting or unusual, um, I do take commissions. So please feel free to ask. I might be able to accommodate. Probably won't. Don't be surprised if I say no. Um, but I have been known to take the odd commission here and there, um, because it's interesting. It's fun. It's interesting. You get to tie flies that maybe uh, I've never tied before. Um, but again, it just comes down to time and material supply. Now, with the recent pandemic, some materials have been really hard to get hands on. Um, so uh, fulfilling um, commissions can be a little bit challenging. Have been a little bit challenging, um, but you know, let's see what's next. We'll do Kingfisher sides, um, and then we'll kind of and then the toppings. And again, when it comes to materials, please, um, don't just use the first Kingfisher that you see. Make sure it's the right one. In this case, we're looking for I believe it's a Eurasian or Asian kingfisher, where again it's one of those species that where they're considered a pest in their native habitat. Uh, you don't want to use like an American kingfisher because again, not entirely legal to own and operate. Okay. Looking appropriately messy for a mixed wing. And the thing you can do about mixed wings, especially if you're going to be displaying them, is you can use a brush, or in my case, I'll use my dubbing needle, and I'll just brush it out a little bit afterwards. Just make sure all the fibers are um, well placed. Alright, so I need a topping. Well, that's about right, I'd say. Oop, tail's getting a little bit beat up there, but that's all right. And now, like I said, last week, one of the feathers it says is the crest of the Himalayan pheasant. And that could be a number of different pheasants, but I'm fairly certain that it means tragopan. Um, so I have some tragopan crests here. Unfortunately, these are the short black crest, and not longer, but we will try to make one work. Um, it could be a number of different species. I've seen suggestions for Lady Amherst, Himalayan monal, or Impayan pheasant. I'm fairly certain it's Tragopan, however, but that's based off of their kind of modern range. I don't know what their historical range was in the time of, say, when Blacker was writing. So it could it could very well be, um, you know, any of those. But based on their current range, the only pheasants that currently live in the Himalayas or have a home range that's within the Himalayas are the Tragopan family, and only one or two of the species of Tragopan at that. So, just a guess. But and to be honest, I'm not entirely certain what species of tragopan these crests actually come from. But uh, that's the one we're going with. Um, and finally, blue and yellow macaw horns. Let me go grab that. And as usual, I'm going to tie on the far side first because it is far easier to match the tie-in angle um, of the near side to the far side. Just because that's the side that's closest to you, so you have a little bit more control over it. Bind that down. Trim the excess. Then there's a bronze head. Um, and I have interpreted this to mean a bronze peacock head. Although I suppose if you had a bronze um, seal dubbing, I suppose you could do that. Although I don't know how well you can imitate peacock with seal dubbing. I know, like, there's an. I always come back to Fly Tire, since Fly Tire was one of the major publications that really influenced my fly tying career. And I remember, I don't know, maybe early 2000s, they had an article on um, dubbing substitutes for peacock, um, which I always found kind of funny because they basically started the article with the stating there are no substitutes for for peacock. I think what they were trying to accomplish was something that was a little bit more durable. Peacock hurl and any hurl or biot. Um, people use turkey biots for bodies, goose biots for bodies. Um, any of those kinds of like feather part based um, wrapped um, body materials are or can be. Oh man, I need to replace the rubber padding on the jaws of these paddle players. I think. Also, you see me squeezing the head here. That's because I've got so much tying wax on the head. I can use the heat in my fingers, the body heat in my fingers, to remelt that wax and essentially stick the hurl into into the waxed thread, and that just helps to keep it from slipping down the fly, down the head, and allow me to tie a more full head. I'm just going to tie it off in here. Front. We're going to wax the thread because waxing your thread does help all the kind of extra fuzzies that you end up with at the when you tie something off, just to stick those down. And then we're going to whip finish. All right, so there we go. Now the thing about mixed wings is um, what Blacker recommends you do with the wing is even before you tie it in, you break up all of the fibers using your thumbnail um, or using a fingernail. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to run my bodkin through the wing a little bit just to break up some of the clumps. And just from an aesthetic standpoint, I just want to make sure, you know, none of the um, fibers are crisscrossed. I think that probably does not look the best if that happens. Just from because you want the wing to flow, um, especially if it's going to be a display fly such as this. Um, but just running your bodkin through the wing a little bit, um, you know, produces these wonderful results. Probably a little bit bright. We'll bring that down so that you can bring down the light so that you can actually see the detail on the wing. This is a fun pattern. It's a big wing. It's a lot of wing materials in the wing, like I said. But I think it's very kind of indicative of the style and the kinds of materials. Something I probably have mentioned, but you don't tend to think about is these salmon flies. So Blacker was British, and he was writing kind of at the heyday of, well, not the heyday, but like the early Victorian era, I guess. Um, and really, when you look at the materials that he lists, Himalayan pheasant. Well, you have to think like how far are the Himalayas from Great Britain, um, and how far those materials had to come. And even if they came from animals which were brought to Great Britain, even the fact that those animals were transported to Great Britain and then raised in Great Britain is really a big indicator of just the the scale of the British Empire. You think like bustards come from the Middle East and from Africa. You have a lot of patterns call for toucan or other tropical birds from like South America, Central America, and Caribbean. Um, Turkey from North America. You know, these flies are really kind of symbols of the British Empire, and as such, they come with some kind of real baggage as well. Because if you think, not only were you know all of the imperial powers at the time exploiting native populations, but they were also exploiting native, uh, you know, animal or wildlife populations. Um, fancy feathers for salmon flies are probably the more frivolous or small contributors to those imperial uh, imperial exploitation. But you have to think, today a lot of bustard species are considered threatened or endangered. A lot of tropical, you know, I guess songbird. I don't know if you call them songbirds, but like like tropical birds, like um, um, what we would call Indian crow, or cotinga, the kind of bright blue feathers that we use. Um, those a lot of those species are threatened and endangered, and part of that is a legacy of British imperialism, or whatever imperial power held that territory. Um, so it's something we think about when we make substitutions. Do we substitute things that are more common, and you know because but we don't often think about, like, why is the real species endangered. So it's just something to think about, something to keep in the back of your mind. um, Fortunately, we through these flies, not only um, we're starting to reclaim some of that legacy, right? So, for example, like the species survival program for Cory bustards, we're taking these flies, which originated in kind of imperial Great Britain, and we're now using them to help rehabilitate a species that was affected by imperialism. So that's kind of cool. And then we definitely should be looking for more opportunities to do things like that. But anyway, this is a fly finished. Let me grab the other flies from the series, from the that Blacker recommends for the River Bann, just to show you it, all together. I have too many of these boxes, and they're all relatively full of flies. Um, yeah, so I don't sell these, um, but if you are interested in either buying one or learning how to make one, please reach out to me. You can either put it in the comments, you can reach out to me through Etsy. Be happy to show this. I was actually thinking about this a little bit. Side note, but here's one. So two, three, dropped one in my trash can. 4, 5, and now number 6. Um, I'll put a picture on Instagram up of all 6 together. But speaking about, like, other things, so I think, like all tires, I do tend to go through phases where it's like sometimes I tie a lot, sometimes I don't, and just kind of based on my history, I'm kind of due for a, a desire to try, or I'm due for a lull in my tying, and I can kind of feel it. So what I've been trying to think of, and I would love your help, is suggestions for other things that I can stream, because I want to keep live streaming things related to Hang on, let me adjust my camera since I don't have a fly in front of me now. Okay, so this camera has a manual zoom, and I love it because then I can focus on the flies, I can focus on me. Um, I would love some suggestions of things that I can stream that are related to salmon flies and fly tying, but aren't necessarily fly tying. Um, One of the thoughts I had was doing some arts and crafts and showing you um, how I make my salmon fly boxes. So these are magnetic. Um, they're just made out of old cigar boxes, but I can show you if you're interested. We can do that for a couple of live streams. Um, Possibly, uh, I don't know. That's the only idea for a non tying related thing right now. If you have any other ideas, I'd love to hear them. Like I said, I do want to try and keep fly tying fresh, both for me and you. Um, there are only so many times you can see me tie on a married wing. Um, but yeah, so I'm looking for ideas. Let me know what you think. And we can do some exploring for other things to do. I will probably keep tying flies for the near future, and certainly on occasion. Um, but I would like to mix some other things in just to make sure that fly tying doesn't become a chore. Um, something that I have to do on Sundays. uh, yeah, let me know what you think and what your suggestions are. Other than that, thanks for hanging out. Glad I got to show you something a little bit different than the normal big mix built wing fly um, that I've done a lot on this channel. Um, if you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, get notifications to see you next time I'm streaming. If you enjoy what I do and want to see more of my work, and you're new to the stream, check out my Instagram. It's at justwondering.brad. And if you want to support the stream and purchase any of the flies that you see me tie here on the channel, you can check out my Etsy shop. Right now, stock's a little bit low, but hopefully we'll put a few more flies up soon. Probably put this set of 6 flies from Blacker for the river Bann up on Etsy. If you are interested in fishing flies, salmon flies for fishing, these would be great flies to do that because they're tied on eyed hooks, they're tied on partridge CS26 hooks. CS20, is that what they're called? Yes, they are tied on partridge CS26 hooks, so you could fish these. They'd be perfectly reasonable to fish. And being mixed wings, or mostly mixed wings, they'd probably fish pretty well. So if you are interested, they will be a little expensive for fishing flies, however. So if you intend to fish them, please don't be surprised at the price tag. But other than that, yeah, thanks for hanging out. And let's see. Schedule wise, I will stream next Sunday, probably. Or there's no reason for me not to. But then the next 2 weeks after that, I will actually be um, traveling, a couple separate trips. Um, so I won't be able to stream those weekends. Uh, but, you know, still happy to respond to messages and that sort of thing. And then I'll be back, what is it, June? Probably June 13th would be the next live stream after that. Like I said, some things are still up in the air with the new position at work. We're still trying to figure out the details to how that works, how often I'm going to have to go in the office, what days I'm going to be working. Um, but well, once that's all squared away, I'll let you know if it's going to change the stream schedule. I think I mentioned this before, but I would like to stream on Saturdays rather than Sundays. But currently, I'm working on Saturdays, um, so Sundays are it for now. But hopefully soon in the future, I'll be able to stream on Saturdays again. But until then, we don't. We're like I said, we're still working on the details. But in any case, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next Sunday probably. Have a good one.